What happens when two gospel legends whose voices have shaped generations step onto the same stage and share a moment so real, so emotional, but the crowd is left in absolute silence? Shirley Caesar and CeCe Winans didn't simply perform, they delivered an unforgettable encounter that fans are now calling one of the most powerful gospel experiences of this era. But what truly unfolded on that stage? And why are people still talking about it even now? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will forever change the way you view these two gospel giants. Picture this, a room filled with thousands of people. The lights dim, the music fades softly, and suddenly, two of the greatest voices gospel has ever known step forward. Shirley Caesar, the First Lady of Gospel, carrying decades of ministry and music. CeCe Winans, the most awarded female gospel singer in history, whose heavenly voice has touched hearts all over the globe. When these two icons stood side by side, no one in the audience could have imagined what was about to happen next. This wasn't just any performance, it was a flood of pure emotion that left the crowd gasping, weeping, and standing in awe. Those present described chills racing through their bodies, while viewers online are still replaying the clip, calling it a once-in-a-lifetime moment. Here's the thing, the story behind this is even more unbelievable. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what took place during that unforgettable onstage encounter between Shirley Caesar and CeCe Winans. We'll uncover why it carried such weight, the powerful meaning hidden within, and the emotional reactions that continue echoing through the gospel community. Trust me, by the time you reach the end of this video, you'll see why many are calling this one of the most moving events in gospel history. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. The story didn't stop on that stage. What followed afterward kept fans buzzing for days. And it revealed something about Shirley Caesar and CeCe Winans that most people have never known. To really grasp why that moment between Shirley Caesar and CeCe Winans struck so deeply, you first need to understand who these women are and the immense weight their names hold in gospel music. Shirley Caesar is known as the First Lady of Gospel, with a career that has stretched across more than 6 decades. She's been a voice of strength, resilience, and unshakable faith. Her songs go beyond melodies, their sermons wrapped in music. From her days with the legendary Caravans in the 1960s to her solo career that brought us classics like Hold My Mule and He Will Do It Again, Shirley Caesar has stood as a pillar in gospel music, solid, foundational, and inspiring generations of singers. She isn't just a performer. She's a living testimony of what it means to carry gospel tradition forward. And then, on the other side of that stage, stood CeCe Winans, representing the new era of gospel greatness. With 12 Grammy Awards, over 24 Dove Awards, and countless other accolades, CeCe stands as the most decorated female gospel artist of all time. But beyond all the awards, her music holds this rare ability to connect traditional gospel with modern worship. Songs like Alabaster Box and Believe For It are sung in both churches and large arenas, proving that her influence stretches far beyond one genre or even one generation. Her voice is often described as anointed, carrying a purity that moves listeners to tears instantly. So picture this: 2 different eras of gospel greatness, one firmly rooted in the deep traditions of church gospel, and the other paving the way in contemporary worship with crossover appeal, meeting together on the same stage. The symbolism alone was powerful. It felt like history and the present moment were shaking hands before a live audience. This wasn't just about music. It was about unity, legacy, and the passing of a torch from one gospel giant to another. When fans saw Shirley Caesar walk out to stand beside CeCe Winans, the atmosphere changed completely. You could feel the anticipation rising. Whispers filled the room. Some reached for their phones while others froze, realizing they were about to witness something unforgettable. And in that instant, no one could have foreseen the emotions that were about to pour out. But here's where it went even deeper. This was more than a performance. It was a spiritual encounter. What followed went far beyond melodies and lyrics. The night itself was already electric, the atmosphere alive with a mix of excitement and reverence, the kind of energy that only builds when gospel lovers gather for something extraordinary. As the program unfolded, many thought they had already seen the peak of the evening. Powerful solos, choirs lifting the roof with harmonies, and testimonies that had the audience shouting "Amen." But then came the moment no one expected. The lights dimmed slightly and the band played a soft, familiar chord progression. Out stepped Shirley Caesar. The audience roared in applause, honoring a woman who has given her entire life to the ministry of music. Her very presence alone stirred the crowd. People rose to their feet, clapped, and shouted her name. She smiled, lifted her hand humbly in acknowledgement, and approached the microphone with the grace of someone who has carried gospel music for more than 50 years. But before the audience could even sit back down, another spotlight came on and out walked CeCe Winans. The crowd's reaction was explosive: cheers, shouts, tears. Fans instantly reached for their phones, knowing this was a moment they had to capture. Two women from two different generations now stood together in unity on one stage. When the music swelled, Shirley Caesar began first. Her voice, aged yet commanding, carried that unmistakable authority, the kind that made every lyric resonate deep within the soul. Each note was a testament to the decades she has poured into gospel, her tone rich with wisdom and emotion. Then CeCe's voice entered, smooth, angelic, and pure, like a wave of light cutting through the room. The contrast between them was breathtaking. Shirley's voice was raw, traditional, and deeply rooted in church gospel, while CeCe's was polished, soaring, and contemporary, but together it wasn't a clash. It was harmony. It was the old and the new merging seamlessly into something divine. As they sang, something extraordinary unfolded. Shirley Caesar extended her hand towards CeCe, almost as if she were affirming her, passing along a spiritual mantle. CeCe accepted her hand, and for that brief moment, the music itself felt secondary. The crowd fell silent, almost as if everyone collectively realized they were witnessing something far greater than a simple performance. This felt like a sacred exchange. Fans seated in the front rows later described chills racing down their spines. Some wept openly, hands lifted in worship. Even the band appeared moved, playing softer, almost cautious. As though they didn't want to break the moment. It wasn't rehearsed, it wasn't planned. It was raw, unfiltered worship and connection. And then came the climax. Their voices rose together, Shirley pressing forward with her powerhouse delivery, while CeCe floated above her with angelic harmonies. The two blended into one, creating a sound that filled the room with an undeniable presence. Audience members described it as overwhelming. Later, many shared online that it felt as though heaven itself touched earth in that instant. When the final note rang through the hall, the silence that followed was almost deafening. For several seconds, no one moved. Then suddenly, like a wave, the audience exploded into cheers, tears, and a standing ovation. Some shouted praises, others simply held their heads, stunned by what they had just experienced. Cameras captured people crying, shaking, hugging one another. This wasn't just music, this was ministry. But here's the thing, what took place after the applause was what truly left fans stunned and sparked. Conversations that still haven't stopped as the last notes of that unforgettable duet faded away. The atmosphere in the room shifted in a way words can barely capture. Yes, the crowd had clapped, cheered, and shouted during the performance. But once the ovation settled, something unusual happened. No one wanted to leave. People stayed behind, talking with complete strangers about what they had just seen. Some were still wiping tears from their faces. All around the auditorium, you could hear groups repeating lines they remembered, describing the goosebumps they felt, and declaring that they had just witnessed one of the greatest gospel moments of their lives. Fans instantly took to social media almost right away. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook lit up with clips, photos, and heartfelt testimonies. Some wrote things like, "I thought I was coming to a concert, but I walked out with a spiritual awakening." Others called it a once-in-a-lifetime moment where the past and present of gospel music united before their eyes. Within hours, hashtags connected to Shirley Caesar and CeCe Winans were trending throughout gospel and Christian communities online. One especially viral clip showed Shirley Caesar holding CeCe's hand tightly at the end of their duet, leaning in to speak softly into her ear. While microphones didn't catch her words clearly, lip readers and fans speculated she was offering CeCe a blessing, affirming her place as a leader for the next generation of gospel. That speculation only fueled the intrigue and emotions surrounding the moment. And it wasn't just fans who responded so passionately. Fellow artists and industry leaders also weighed in. Well-known gospel singers posted about being moved to tears simply watching the performance online. Pastors and church leaders even used the event as a sermon illustration the very next Sunday, emphasizing the importance of unity across generations, honoring legacy and the incredible power of collaboration in ministry far beyond just the gospel community. Even mainstream media outlets caught on to the story, publishing articles that framed the performance as not only a musical milestone but also a cultural and spiritual one. Think about that for a second. In an industry where gospel rarely receives the same spotlight as pop or hip-hop, this one moment broke through barriers, reminding the world of gospel's unmatched emotional depth and spiritual power. And then came the deeper, personal responses. Fans began sharing how that night renewed their faith, encouraged them to return to church, or even helped them cope with grief. One woman wrote online that she had lost her mother earlier that year, and hearing Shirley and CeCe sing together felt like a message from heaven, a reminder that she wasn't alone. Another man shared that the performance inspired him to call his estranged father the very next morning, something he hadn't done in years. That's the power of music, especially gospel music. It doesn't just entertain. It heals, restores, and ignites hope. And that's exactly what this moment accomplished. It wasn't simply two legends sharing a stage, it was God using their voices to bring unity, comfort, and encouragement to every listener. But the story didn't end there. What unfolded in the days after the performance revealed even more about the connection between Shirley Caesar and CeCe Winans, leaving fans buzzing with questions about what the moment really meant for the future of gospel music. In the hours and days that followed, the conversation refused to die down. What truly fueled the fire, though, were the behind-the-scenes details that slowly came to light. People wanted to know, was this planned? Was it spontaneous? And most importantly, what did Shirley Caesar and CeCe Winans themselves have to say? According to those close to the event, Shirley Caesar's appearance was originally scheduled as a solo performance. She was set to deliver one of her timeless classics, the type of song that alone could bring the house to its feet. But as the event plans evolved, CeCe Winans was invited to join her, not for a polished duet, but for something far more organic. Insiders revealed the two had little rehearsal time together, which explained why what unfolded on stage felt so raw and genuine. It wasn't about choreography or flawless delivery, it was about spirit. Later in an interview, CeCe Winans spoke about the moment, calling it one of the greatest honors of her career to stand beside Shirley Caesar. She explained how Shirley had been her role model since childhood, someone whose songs shaped her faith and artistry. CeCe admitted that she was holding back tears the entire time, and when Shirley reached out to her on stage, she felt the overwhelming weight of that moment. It was more than music, CeCe said. It was ministry. It was love, and it was legacy. Shirley Caesar, meanwhile, true to her humble and straightforward nature, responded differently. When asked about the performance, she downplayed her own role and instead praised CeCe Winans for carrying gospel music into a new generation. She reportedly said, "God has given her a voice for this generation, and I'm just grateful to see the work continue." Fans began interpreting that stage moment as Shirley offering CeCe her public blessing, a symbolic gesture that seemed to say, "The future now rests in your hands." Industry voices only fueled this speculation. Some gospel commentators argued this was more than just a performance. It felt like a calculated move to reignite attention on gospel's role in mainstream culture, with gospel often sidelined at award shows and overlooked in broader media coverage. The sight of these two powerhouse women standing together was seen as a declaration: gospel's alive. It's relevant. It's more powerful than ever. Rumors even swirled about possible behind-the-scenes discussions of a tribute project, something that might celebrate Shirley Caesar's legendary legacy alongside CeCe Winans' current success. While nothing has been officially confirmed, fans continue to hope, and the what-if conversations still echo months later. But this night wasn't just about rumors or speculation. Its deeper significance rested in unity and continuity. Generational divides are nothing new in music. Old school versus new school, traditional versus contemporary, and gospel has battled those very tensions for years. Traditional purists often argue that contemporary gospel drifts too far toward modern trends, while younger audiences insist that innovation is what keeps the genre alive. Yet, on that stage, Shirley and CeCe proved it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both. It can be harmony. That message hit home with fans because it symbolized something larger than music itself. It reflected real struggles churches and faith communities wrestle with today. How do you preserve tradition while embracing the future? How do you honor the roots while moving forward into new ground? Shirley Caesar and CeCe Winans didn't answer with speeches. They answered with their voices, blending in worship. They showed gospel doesn't need to divide, it can unite generations. The ripple effect of that truth spread quickly. Choir directors shared performance clips with their members, urging them to honor both traditional and modern gospel styles. Worship leaders used the moment to remind their congregations that gospel can grow without losing its foundation. Younger gospel artists openly admitted they felt inspired to keep pushing their calling forward. Recognizing they stand on the shoulders of giants like Caesar and Winans, perhaps, the most striking reactions came from those who don't usually engage with gospel at all. People who stumbled across clips online confessed they weren't gospel fans, yet this performance moved them to tears. That's the power of something authentic. It breaks through walls, reaching people who might never set foot in a gospel service or concert. And so the question rose, what does this mean for the future of gospel? While no one can say for certain, one truth is undeniable. This performance reignited conversations about gospel's relevance, its legacy, and its future. It reminded the world that gospel isn't fading, it's evolving. Artists like CeCe Winans are carrying it into new spaces, while icons like Shirley Caesar continue to stand as living testaments to where it all began. And here's what keeps fans on edge. Insiders whisper there could be more ahead. Quiet talks of collaborations, tributes, even surprise stage appearances are still circulating. Nothing official has been announced, but the very possibility of Shirley Caesar and CeCe Winans sharing a stage again is enough to keep the gospel world buzzing with anticipation.